Hello, my name is Christopher Thomas. I'm the data compliance analyst with the Lancaster County Homelessness Coalition. This will be a training video on how to create reservations for bed nights using Empower Lancaster. Some quick background information. The bed night is the standard unit for how we measure emergency shelter in Lancaster County. It's required for billing for shelter projects because that's the unit that billing is based on. It is also, in some cases, required for us to do HUD reporting. Depending upon how your shelter is set up, we might need to have a reservation in the system in order for a client to show up as being enrolled that night. This is relevant, especially for projects where it's not taken for granted that just because a client is enrolled in a program, that they're going to be there that night. So some projects are seasonal, others are low barrier, compared with some that maybe are more of a hotel style shelter where we can take for granted that if you are enrolled, you are also going to be there every night. We use reservations in order to save time. It saves us the trouble of having to create a bed night for every single night that every single client is in a project. This will make more sense when we look at it together. We'll also look at how to delete extra bed nights. I'll also make sure I talk more about that during this video. So if you have questions about logging in, finding clients, enrolling clients, there are other videos on this channel that will explain those to you. This video is going to assume a few different things. You've already got a login, you know how to enroll clients, and most importantly, that you have already enrolled the client who you want to create a reservation for. So again, what the reservation system lets us do is create a bed night for a client for every night that they've got an open reservation, right? So if Sheldon is in my shelter project for 2/15 through 2/29, I want to have a bed night created for every night that he's there, right? So if I create that that reservation on the 15th, his first night, heading into midnight that night. So the night of the first day of that reservation, a bed night is going to be created automatically. And it will keep on creating bed nights until I end the reservation. That means that rather than putting in those 14 bed nights, you've only had to create one reservation and then end it when Sheldon is no longer occupying a bed. If Sheldon is absent for 2 of those nights, so you've created those 14 bed nights automatically, all you need to do at the end of the month or the end of the week, however often your organization does this, is go back and delete the extras. So it's an overall time saving, just requires you to do a little bit of housekeeping. So, like I said, we have already got our client enrolled who we're going to be doing this test with. In addition to Sheldon, we've also enrolled Christopher, and I'll show you what this looks like. So I'm in here, I've logged in, I'm under the case manager role, which most likely will also be the role that you're in here under. Most of what we do in EL, we do in this case management area, so we don't think about it, but next to it is this organization button. So if I click this, now things are going to look a little bit differently. So the first step is going to be making sure that you are under the right organization. So click Find Organization and then find your org. For this test, we're going to do it for the Lancaster County Food Hubs Emergency Shelter. So I'll click that. And you'll notice that nothing's happening. And that's because I'm already in here. But it's always worth checking just to make sure, because if you try to create bed nights for your organization, you're a Lancaster County Food Hub staff, and you're in here, and you've accidentally selected a different organization, you're not going to be able to see the beds that you want to create those reservations for. So I've done that. Now the next step is to click on Providers, and now Providers again. Now, This is a list that needs to be cleaned up, but you're going to need to make sure you select the right one, right? So if your organization operates multiple shelter projects, shelter and transitional housing and permanent supportive housing, you might see a laundry list here. You're going to need to make sure you pick the project that you want to create the reservation under. I can tell you that the Lancaster County Food Hub's emergency shelter is using reservations for its bed nights. So this is the one that I want. I'm going to click the gear next to it and then click resources. So again, that was find organization, make sure you've got the right organization, providers, providers, select the right one, and then hit resources in the gear menu. Now I see all of the resources. Resource is generally speaking going to be a bed in a project, but EL is adaptable, and so it could mean other things. For our purposes today, it's just going to mean a shelter bed. Here's the shelter whose beds I want to create this reservation for. I see there's a maximum allowed of 46. We only got 2 enrolled today because I have, this is the test environment. I've cleared out all real clients so that we don't share any client names or information. So I've just got Sheldon and Christopher enrolled. I'm going to click here on the gear, and the last step is to click reservation. Now, what this is going to automatically show me is all of the reservations open today. These are automatically going to both be set today's date through today's date. So it's just the open reservations today. If you'd like, you can change this to show all of the open reservations inside of a certain time period. We're just going to look at today, and for the most part, you'll also just want to see who's got a reservation today. But you can change these and then click search to change the criteria. I see right now I've got 1 reservation open. It's for Sheldon. I see it started on 2/15/24 and the end date is open. So really quickly, we'll look at what it would mean to edit this reservation if I needed to. I could do that by changing this end date. And it is really important that we close reservations before we exit a client. And again, within this video, we'll go over why that is. But we'll also look at a faster way that lets you end a reservation and exit a client in one step rather than having to do it as 2 separate things. But you can edit these here once it's already been created. We're going to leave Sheldon as he is for right now. We'll exit him later. But what we're going to imagine is that we've got another client who's entering today, and today's date again is 2/29/2024. So we're going to want to create a reservation for this client. Right now we only have 1 reservation, so I'm going to add a new row. You'll see this just appeared down here. What I need to do by clicking on either in the box or on this magnifying glass is find the client who I want to create that reservation for. So this is where you're going to type in last and first. If it's a common name, having DOB or client ID might help, but we'll see here in a second when I click this, it's going to return all the clients who satisfy that. So there's only 1 Christopher Thomas in the system. It makes it a little bit easier. If there were multiple Christopher Thomases, you would want to make sure you've got the right DOB, right? The one who you're trying to create the reservation for. In this case, there's only 1. I know this is the person who I want to create the reservation for. Really quickly, I'm going to back out by clicking the little X up here. You'll notice that when I click this, it lets me create that reservation, right? So I'm going to delete this and try again with a new client. Christopher, like I said, is open in this project. What if I try and add a client reservation who's not in the program? So we're going to do a different test client here. Try it again. I'm going to click right here, and now I get this message. Client is not enrolled in the required program. So it is not going to let me proceed. You'll get stopped here if you try and create a reservation for a client who's not enrolled. That would also stop you if there were, let's say there had been 2 Christopher Thomases and they pick the wrong one, did their birth date. If they weren't enrolled, it would stop you here. So it's set up to not let you create reservations for clients who aren't actually enrolled. Now, Christopher is enrolled. So what we're going to do here is pick him. The start date will automatically be today's date. Like I said, that means that on the night of 2/29/24, a bed night will be created. So doing this right now is not going to do anything as far as Christopher's bed nights go, because the most recent bed night, before today would have been 2/28/2024. So I'm creating this today for tonight, the night of 2/29/2024. And this end date is going to be open automatically. If you know that a client is only going to be in residence for a few days, you could set the end date here if you wanted to. But for the most part, you're going to leave it open. And what this will do, like I said, is continue to create bed nights until we end that reservation. So now I've created this, and click save, and now we'll see if we go back again to reservations, that now I've got two. I got Sheldon from before, we'll exit him in a minute, and Christopher, who just started today. So this has the effect, we go back to the case management side here. We're looking at this, our Sheldon, who's open into the project. Now, I just created his reservation a minute ago, right? So it's not going to have logged any, sorry. It's not going to have logged any bed nights for him. So we're going to use our imaginations here. Let's say we actually had enrolled Sheldon on 2/15/2024. We would open up and see a list of every single bed night the system created, right? So if doing some cleanup around billing time, the beginning of the following month, and I am going to compare my census sheets, who's actually in attendance that night. I might have seen that Sheldon was absent for two of those nights. I could come back here and find, using our imaginations here, find the bed nights with the dates that I would like to delete, and then just click gear, delete. We'll get rid of those extra bed nights. It's pretty straightforward. The other thing I want to talk about quickly is ending reservations and exiting clients in a single step, right? So let's say Sheldon is he's exiting to housing. He's no longer in a shelter bed. He's no longer in this project. I don't expect he's going to come back. So I want to do two things at once. I want to end his reservation, and I want to exit him. So I'm going to go to case management, program enrollment. For most projects, all you would normally do is click enrolled and then complete exit assessment. We have added in an additional option. You're not going to get to it through here. You're going to get to it through the gear that will let you do two things at once, right? So click that gear, and now you'll see fourth from the bottom, exit reservation and enrollment. So when I click this, a new window pops up. And in this workflow, we can both end the reservation and end the enrollment, right? So, this is going to say, do you want to remove the entire family or just a member? Generally speaking, we're going to want to remove the entire family. Now, I realize that Sheldon's a single person household, so this could seem a little bit confusing. It makes the most sense just to pick family. That's the safe option. If you do want to exit, let's say you've got a seasonal shelter that serves families, and you do just want to exit one member, you can use that option. But if you want to exit a household, think of it that way. Pick the family. If it's one person, it's a one-person household. So we're going to select family, click save. Here's that reservation row again. So I'm just going to end this. So Sheldon's reservation ends today because he's exiting today. Save. As a side note, it's not necessary to delete the reservation. In fact, I think it makes the most sense to simply leave it, because then we've got a record of when Sheldon's reservation was created, right? You just want to make sure you set the end date. Here we're going to have the exit assessments. So this should look familiar if you've ever exited someone before. You'll have the opportunity, if you like, to copy assessment data. Click yes, done. pick the person who you want to copy for, click the magnifying glass, pick the assessment you'd like to copy. I copy Sheldon's at entry assessment. So the questions we asked him at entry are the same ones the system's going to ask us again when he exits. Should be a pretty short list of questions that it should copy over. And unless anything here is changed, you don't need to change anything. The one thing is, this is true of any exit client, you'll need to pick what that client's destination type is. So imagining here, Sheldon is leaving, he is moving into a rental by client. Save. And this just confirms his begin date, his end date. We're going to save that. We're done. So again, just to reiterate quickly, that was in the case management menu, program enrollment, find the shelter enrollment that you want to end. You probably won't see the same list here anymore because he's not open, but force from the bottom, you would have seen exit reservation and enrollment. So doing that will let you close both out at the same time. The other way to do it would be obviously to exit them, or rather end their reservation the same way that we went in through organization, and then go and exit them the way you would exit them from any other program. I think it makes the most sense just to do it in here, because it's just one place to go. That is all on reservations. Thank you for your time.